Okay, Tumblr questions. Oh, there it is. Okay, I forgot what I told you. Okay, so the first question. Actually, I wrote a few like one-shots on my Archive of Our Own account. Like when I'm bored, I just want to focus on like one character and their like own story that doesn't even have Predaking in it. They're just for fun. And also, I got like a commission to write like a Kaon story that I haven't written yet, just like a short story where he's hunting down people and killing them. So I guess that's kind of a spin-off too. I think that was what happened in the bad ending of Reformed Predator. I won't say who, but one of the main Predacons died and became a zombie. And they had to fight this character and kill them. And after the story was done, they killed like your main villain, but things were never the same after that. There's always like a missing spot. So that's why you have to go back and get the good ending. Like the Transformers Prime Autobots, like Bumblebee, RC, Bulkhead, yeah, but for some stories they actually don't appear too often, because I kind of wanted to write new stories, so I picked like a brand new cast of character and gave them lots of story time. But I think Bumblebee, RC, these kind of characters might be more important if you're in the stories that take place in the city, and you're kind of like a cop and you're working alongside them. Though Bumblebee probably appears more than everybody else, because I took it from Predacon's Rising. He was the one who like spoke to Predaking and tried to like calm everybody down. So he always interacts with Predaking to check on him, and if Predaking's kind of being criminal or bad, Bumblebee will try to help him out to be a good person, and then Predaking will snap at him and get angry at him. This is pre-decided. No, there's not gonna be any humans at all. I just want like a Transformers only story, and mostly on Cybertron, unless you're going on a cool like space adventure to see the people from the different colonies. Yeah, no children. Ancient Follower would have been like the only one I would have allowed, but I'm just gonna do like no humans. They might get like mentioned. I think in Space Adventure they were saying they were going to like give them a visit, but I didn't show that at all. I took Bumble Puppies from like there's a TF wiki page of like all the animals that were ever created for the franchise, and there's something called like Antillean Bumble Puppies, which does not have a design or anything. And so they come from the like a moon of a planet called Antilla. So they're not Cybertronian, they don't have sparks, they don't need energon. I just decided they're like robotic, adorable puppy things, but they eat rocks. And so when Cybertronians came here, they're like, these things are so cute, they're so innocent, they have like no awareness of danger, so they're not afraid of you. So they're like the cutest pets, and the Cybertronians just like adopted all of these random alien animals and then they took them back to Cybertron too. Oh, I know, I think I know what they're talking about. I think this is like the stuff that came with the toy, because if you get any Transformers toy, they kind of like have their random toy bios with information that's like hardly connected at all to the books or the series. Sometimes it just straight up doesn't make sense. Oh, but well, I think the blade thing was like his tail or something. I could be wrong because I don't collect toys. The stasis beam, I think they're talking about the Covenant of Primus in like the 4th chapter of the Ancient Predacons. Predaking got a stasis beam and he like knocked out the other Predacon so that they could sleep through the Cataclysm. I think technically he must have that, but I don't think he's gonna unlock that or use that in Mercy. That's the most common question. When will it come out? So I already assumed this was going to be a really long project, and so I decided like it'll take like 10 years, and I started this in 2020. So hopefully 2030 everything will be out, and that's just not the stories, that will be the videos and the playable like clickable links on YouTube. But That doesn't mean we have to wait for content that long, because every year I'm finishing 1 to 2 of the stories, so you have the written games that you can read and you can play, kind of like those Goosebumps choose your own scary story, where you like flip through the pages, the end of the page says go to this page, so you do that. We have those, we already have 3 of them, we're going to have 4 soon. And every week we have new art for the game too. So if you're following like the coffee page or my Tumblr, or you're part of the Discord server group, then you can like see all the art as it comes out, and there's always something to look at and talk about. I forgot to add that part 1 was finished. Like every storyline's part 1 is done and on YouTube, but I'm going to update all of that with like a nicer looking game screen, and I'll edit the text a little bit to be nicer. So I would hope that will be back out next year, like with the new version, but technically there's 60 videos already on YouTube. Jazz specifically. Jazz has appeared. He is alive. He is well. He first appears in Space Adventure because you actually see like the ship he's in, and he comes out with a few other Autobots like Prowl and Ironhide. Jazz is kind of like a minor character who's like around, maybe says a few lines here and there, but I don't think he's ever really important. You'll see him more cameo than anything. Like there's a funny cameo of him in a crowd picture of fans around Overlord. And I have Jazz there, and you're like, why would Jazz be a fan of Overlord? It's because in Transformers Prime Exodus, Jazz was watching gladiator fights, and that really surprised Optimus. So Jazz liked Overlord. And that's it, that's the Tumblr questions. Now for the bulk. The most challenging thing, most definitely, was part 5 of Space Adventure, because I wanted to make a survival game with so many death scenes where every choice you made mattered, and I wanted some choices to have severe consequences, but only really far down, so that by the time you realized, like, you were dead, you didn't know why you were dead, and you had to struggle and go back so far. But, like, it was so difficult to map that out that I thought to myself, am I even smart enough to do this? But I just went at it bit by bit. I wrote like every chapter, I filled in the numbers, and I kept it super organized. I'll put the chart on screen for this so people know what I'm talking about. And then I did it. And the same kind of thing happened for part 5 of Discovery, is I was like, I want lots of endings. So there's 7 different endings for that story. Some of them are really depressing. And it was tedious. I had so many branches to fill out, but I also like just stuck with it and finally finished that. So the multiple endings kind of thing, that's really challenging to set up. The most fun parts to work through, I'm a big fan of anything that was supernatural or like really creepy or bloody. Every time I get to do like a really dramatic scene, I put on some good music and I'm like, kill, 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 kill. This might change in the future after I've written it through. Right now, I think Reformed Predator might have been my favorite, because I just really liked the backstory that I crafted for Sunder, Rung, and Freud. It was like there was so much conflict between them. It was just super interesting. And after you finish the story, like fans are divided on whose side they were even on, like who's at fault in that whole conflict. And on top of that, of course, I loved writing robo-cannibalism, creepy characters, zombies. So it was just a really fun story. How did I come up with this project? How did I come up with this project? It's just kind of taken over my life now, but it was like at the very start of COVID or something. It was like March 2020 where I just started making the first few choices. I think it was a bit of curiosity of what would people do if they had the choice of, should Starscream die at the end of Predacons Rising? Should he get hurt? If so, how much should he get hurt? So I started answering that question. I wanted him to live, of course. Starscream's one of my favorite characters, but I also wanted to play with the idea is what if he dies and comes back as a ghost? So I just had all these choices, a really good Predaking, really bad Predaking, and then I was also super interested in what just happens after Transformers Prime. And between Transformers Prime and Robots in Disguise 2015, they like rebuild Cybertron, but how did they rebuild so fast? What happens when all the Autobots come home, and all the Decepticons come home, and the Autobots tell the Decepticons, oh, Megatron defected, and they're like, oh, sure he did. Sure. And so they're just gonna be like fighting and bickering. And Tushar is here. It's that guy! Tushar, you didn't close the door! I made a video. I sent you a video. Who is he?
Oh, no. I don't remember the name of him. Like, I know, but I don't remember the name.
Sometimes an artist personally will need more time to cope with something in their real life, which is totally fine. There's no like deadlines for any of the art. For me, I think the thing that kind of affected me the most and my motivation was just how much I've been traveling to the US this year. Sometimes like switching environments, it's hard to get like back into it. Sometimes like I get a little bored because there's just so much writing to do, so much planning. It's tiring, especially if you do it every single day for like several hours. But then I just like find this new thing that gets me super excited to show people. Like for the next story we're developing, like Monstrous Heart that I'm writing, there's going to be a new character in it who's neurodivergent, and I was just hoping to spread like a really good positive message with this character, and this like the love that's going into that in the project and what I want to like show the world, that remotivates me and makes me like super excited to do this. I took a lot of the characters from the new shows. Not like Earthspark, that's too new. I'm not sure if I'm going to use any of the Terrans either, because Earth is not a big deal in Mercy at all. They only go to Earth very briefly to pick up the Viacons to bring back the Cybertron. But Cyberverse, I think I took a few characters from there, like Dead End, who's really, really funny. I want him to be in there. The comics, I think IDW2 actually had a lot of like new female characters that I was just super interested in, like Swift. No, Swift came from IDW1. Not Swift, Javelin. Javelin was a new character who I want to add to the police force. Haven't read everything yet, but when I do, sometimes I just see like a character and I get super attached to them and very excited. I think IDW2 Freud got me inspired to make a Freud that wasn't like pure nasty evil asshole. Because he was like very energetic and running around and people were mean to him, so I was inspired by that Freud. Well, all the stories will guarantee one new one. It's going to be Ripclaw, because the wiki page says that's who was incubating in the tube in Predacons Rising. So you'll get Ripclaw. She comes out like a day or two after the story starts. You'll find her. Depending on how good you are is how good she will be. Otherwise she could be pure evil. But anyway, you get that Predacon. Other storylines will give you like 20 more Predacons. All the Predacons you could ever want. Like how Transformers Prime had several Predacon toys we never made into the show. All of those will be characters in the stories where you find Shockwave or Shockwave students and you make them clone a Predacon army for you. Definitely. The big scenes are what inspire every storyline. You think of something so epic, and then you write the rest of the story to fit that in. Like, for Space Adventure, the story of Overlord, the first thing I wrote, I think, was the last chapter. So generally, what I recommend as advice for any writer is write what it excites you the most, that you definitely want to have into the story, and then string it all together. Even for Reformed Predator, like, the last part of the story, part 6, I wrote that first, and then the rest of it. all of every storyline's part 2 to come out at the same time, that would still take like 10 years or so, but I'm thinking that if I finish a storyline pretty well or all the way through, like one of the first ones I wrote, Space Adventure, if I finish that first, I might as well like put it all together to be kind of like a TV series so that you can just watch without making any choices. That might also help advertise the game too. I want to let people see things early on so you have more content, but for all the part 2s, that's not going to come out until every story has been written, every art scene has been drawn, and this is like the game of 10,000 pictures, because honestly, it's going to need a lot of pictures to cover 10 different stories that are all like 100,000 words a piece, so this is like a million words we're talking, or more with all the other choices. But we do have several hundred right now, almost 1,000 I think. Which has been your favorite? I already said which one was my favorite, but how long does it take to make like a storyline? If I don't have life distractions, I can write a complete story in half a year, so that's about how long it takes. And I'll have a brief planning period of like a month or two where I just like generate all the ideas, and then I get writing for a few months. The best aspect of Mercy is that it continues where Transformers Prime left off in the most realistic way I can make it, of all the conflict and issues and all the characters you never got to see. But there's also like a huge like universe you can explore. You can go all over Cybertron and live in different places, and you can finish a story, go somewhere else in another story, so you just learn so much and see so much. Unicron, I don't want Unicron to come back. I'd rather introduce new supernatural kind of creatures, so I kind of have Dark Energon villains in there, which is really fun to do new things. Cybertronian wildlife, like, you just gotta read Discovery. That is like the story where you go out and explore all of Cybertron's wilderness and all the different biomes and see the adorable creatures and the scary creatures, but mostly adorable. That's easy, actually. Starscream and Freud, I think, have been my favorite. Anytime a character is like stupid sassy, that's my favorite one to write. It's just like I can just type it so easily, it's really fun. They're talking about because I made like a why is Knockout video. And I was pointing out like his characterization. What I want to do with Knockout and some of the storylines is go a little deeper with his friendship with Breakdown, because when Breakdown dies in the show, Knockout doesn't react too much. He gets a little mad in the episode with Silas, but I don't think it's really enough. Like when Breakdown goes missing, Knockout isn't like freaking out or trying to find him or something like that. So I kind of want to say that he did do those things, it was just off screen. I would also like for Knockout to kind of reconcile with Starscream if there's ever an opportunity for them to both talk to each other, because I think they could be friends, and I don't really like how Predacons Rising threw that all away, all their development. I never like when development's thrown away. No, I don't just jump onto like the new characters. I don't actually care about relevancy, because I will take like the most obscure characters from like cancelled video games, as I'm doing for the next story. Like I'm taking characters who are called like Deep Blue, what was it, Aegis Vanguard, things like that. We also have like a massive demon. His name was Lord Imperious Delirious. I bet you've never heard of him, but he's real. I think the more obscure ones are more fun because they could have cool designs or cool names, but also because like you have no expectations for them, so I can take them and make them my own. I own Lord Imperious Delirious now. He's mine and cuppajj. Is that asking for like Easter eggs and stuff from like other Transformers universes? I think so. And like, if I understand this question right, I'll do things like In Freud and Sunder's ship, you find statues of blue flowers. This is just what Sunder makes, and they sell the crafts for money. But those are the blue flowers that were in the field of like dead robots in IDW. I'll show the picture for that too. I will have like super specific Easter eggs hidden in there because I think it just expands the Mercy lore. Cosmos, we need Cosmos. Cuppajj is gonna like that because she designed Cosmos and he's kind of cute and pretty. I'm sorry, he's a minor character. You'll see him, he'll fly around and cry a little, but you don't just get to hang out with Cosmos, I'm sorry. I don't like to create OCs because I want to use like pre-established Transformers characters who people might care about a little more. Though I make them like my own characterizations. The only OCs I will make are for vehicons, because I want vehicons to become individuals, and so they're going to need names and personalities, so that's the only time. What are the plans? Well, the DD Overlords on there, they're all main villains actually in their respective stories. Space Adventure for Overlord. You go to a planet and he kind of traps you there and you have to plan your escape. Sunder, he's a creepy, cannibalistic, like supernatural creature who starts hunting you down because you know too much. And the GJD characters, I call them Loyalty. They're a group of enhanced Decepticons who really hate Starscream. They're trying to hunt down and kill Starscream, but in that story Starscream's your friend, so you have to protect him. So those are their roles. There's tons of other IDW characters though. Rung, Freud, for example. Japan, very obscure ones sometimes that I pick. Will we see Megatron again? I would love to like show Megatron in at least one story, but like you gotta find him. He's out there somewhere trying not to be found. I think I would like him to like try to exile himself and get off Cybertron and go somewhere else. So you'd have to catch him before he gets like a ship or something and gets off world. I haven't included any maximal characters yet. If I did, they would only be like animalistic characters. I'm not going to have a faction for the maximals because then I'd have to like explain why they're even there and what they're doing. Dinobots for sure are going to be in the game. They briefly appeared in Space Adventure to fight Overlord. But I want storylines for the Dinobots are your main threat. Like, if you're buddies of Shockwave, and the Dinobots are hunting down Shockwave for revenge, you have to fight them to protect Shockwave. Oh, no, it's totally okay. There, like, besides me, so many people are making, like, entire fan films and stuff, and putting it on YouTube and monetizing it. That's fine to do, because it's, like, your own creative projects. The thing you're not allowed to do is like make it into a DVD or a game and sell it, but YouTube will protect you. Like, you can put anything on YouTube that's your own original work and monetize it because technically Hasbro didn't write or draw or anything. This is just glorified fan fiction really, and if all fan fiction is legal, then Mercy is also legal as long as it stays free, which it is. It's free for anybody to play. The game sort of has voice acting. I don't want anybody to read lines out because then I have to judge whether somebody's reading things well and projecting their voice well or all that. Mic quality, things like that. If they just read, if they don't read at all, then there's more focus on music. All I want from like people are to make emotional sound effects. So like there'll be a sound a character makes, a yell, a gasp, and then their lines appear, and I like it much more like that. For Overlord, though, sorry to disappoint, he doesn't have his howdy accents anymore. If you read the story really carefully, they point out that he did have a cowboy howdy accent, but he changed his accent so that people would think he was like a pretty rich boy instead, so now he sounds like stereotypically deep and sexy. Unless you think Texan voices are sexier. I was like, that's like the one rule is Predaking will have no romantic interest because I don't want to force the reader into anything at all that they're uncomfortable with. And Predaking's just like a young character. I want him to go out and like explore the world and be a bit ignorant and innocent, so I don't want him to be getting into romances. Not to say there's no romance, it's just no romance involving you, the player. There are like other characters out there who are implied to be like a couple, so that happens. I think all my new characters are pretty unique, because I do not want them to be like exact copies of IDW, because why not just read IDW at that point? Like for my run, he's not like even a therapist. He was a librarian, monster hunter, badass with a giant gun. Went after demons in the night kind of guy. Any references to what happened to Arachnid and the Insecticons? Definitely. I'm here to solve like all the plot holes and tie all the loose strings. Arachnid and the Insecticons are on the moon. They're all infected. But they can't get the Cybertron until like a ship decides to visit that moon. Ignorance. And they can get on that ship and come down to Cybertron. They will be like a brief apocalyptic event. But this won't happen on every timeline. Or sorry, it's just that some stories end earlier on the timeline than others. So some stories you won't see it happen. But if like a year passes, then it's going to happen. And you'll see it across like several stories, so you have to deal with that and stop Arachnid and not get infected by those Insecticons. It can be overwhelming sometimes. I know a lot of people wouldn't even attempt to begin what I'm doing. If you think too much about it, you'll just like think you can't do it. All you have to do is keep going, just day by day, celebrate every little progress, and suddenly you see you have hundreds of images and several 100,000 words of script done. You're actually going somewhere. Other difficulties, of course, it's very like expensive to commission artists all the time. So there's a budget for sure. If people are talking about their OCs, there's actually a thing I'm doing right now where if you donate $5 on Coffee, I'll put your like OC in the background of a scene. They're not gonna speak and have lines, mind you, but they will be like in the universe of Mercy if you're interested in that. Otherwise, the only like speaking OCs will be the Viacon OCs I talked about before. Yes, Soundwave is gonna come back. It's gonna be great. And his mini-cons, they're gonna be there. Oh yeah, they might not be able to connect to him anymore. I'm not saying they're on him or with him right now. They're somewhere else. But they're all gonna come back to Cybertron and reconnect with Soundwave. They're gonna meet each other and he can like send them out on missions. Definitely Ravage. Ravage is definitely in there. Overlord is the big boss of the Space Adventure storyline, and the whole deal with Overlord is somehow he has acquired invincible like armor, like his metal skin. You just cannot penetrate it with any blade or any blaster fire. And you have to figure out how he got that and how to defeat him when you can't even inflict harm on him. It's like the Apex armor, really. His body is like the Apex armor, so how do you stop him? I want to include as much aligned continuity lore as I possibly can. Everybody knows there's a little bit of conflicts, so I'll try to pick like the events that make the most sense. And then for the future stuff like robots in the skies, some of it I'm using. But this is gonna seem silly right now, but I want Robots in Disguise to kind of be somebody's fanfic in the game. So it's like not real. Optimus doesn't like fight with Bumblebee because that's stupid. But I want like Angel Starscream and stuff, so I want those adventures. Sorry, not adventures. I want those events to happen. But there's just trust me on this. There will be an explanation that includes everything. Because if you're like, well, if it's somebody's fanfiction, then how do you have the Angel Starscream stuff? There will be a good explanation for all of it. I promise. Just to finish the bloody thing. And have all those pictures and just create like the biggest, most ambitious fan project there ever was for Transformers, put it up there, cross my arms. I'm like, yeah, no one's ever going to have the energy to beat that. I just want to put it up there and people can play it like forever, far in the future, even if I'm dead and old or something. Yeah, there are going to be some combiner teams. I definitely want to have Bruticus in there. I want to have Devastator. I have Superion for sure, actually. All the aerial bots come back. And I'm thinking of maybe including Abominus, which is like the combination of Predacons, a Predacon combiner. That'd be cool, wouldn't it? There'll be like probably 200 characters in the end, maybe more. Shockwave's definitely going to return too. Megatron. Briefly, Shockwave, yes, there could be lots of Shockwave depending on the story. For this person asking about Overlord's appearance, I think they actually saw my like brand new design for like how Overlord was like this cool horned black metal of like star freckles. Just completely made up design. And then he got like terribly melted. And he looked like a skeleton, just like in Last Stand at the Wreckers. And then he was beautified to being a popular gladiator. So that's how that happened. Well, with the multiple endings, y'all can just kind of like choose what's canon for you. If you get like a more sad ending, but you enjoy the sad endings, that can be your ending for that story. You can go for the happy ones if you want. And then there's several storylines just so you can have lots of things to explore. But whatever you want to be canon can be your canon. I don't know if you'll get too much screen/story time because it's like focused on the Predacons and new characters in the universe. But I would like to develop Knockout a bit. I have 3 storylines done now. About to start the 4th one. I'd like to get it started for October, so I can get some spooky stuff for Halloween. And then after that, I'm hoping to write 1 to 2 stories every year. And for pictures, like pictures for the new storylines, getting more and more every week. Getting some more for Discovery, which was just finished. So people are jumping on to like the DJD character scenes already. Oh yes, it's what everybody wanted, so I definitely have to have it. Everyone was always like, who would win, the Dinobots or the Predacons? I gotta make them like rip each other apart. No, there's not. I'm not bringing back Optimus Prime. Like, you can assume he's probably going to come back because he's in Rescue Bots Academy, right? I just don't want it to be done the Robots in Disguise way. That's all. So I'm just going to leave Optimus out of it because I want the other characters to struggle without his leadership. Oh yeah, like the zombie ones and the non-zombified ones, and new varieties of Insecticons too. Yeah, it's right after Transformers Prime and before when Robots in Disguise takes place, except I'm still not saying that Robots in Disguise will be canon to Mercy. Ratchet. Ratchet hasn't done much so far. Some of the stories, Predakin gets his eyeball scratched by Starscream at the very start, and then you go to Ratchet and he's like, pfft, and like fixes your eye for you. I don't think he appears too much, because at the end of Transformers Prime, right, he said he wanted to go to Earth to hang out with the humans and stuff, so I let him do that. But he does come back to Cybertron because they're in such a need of doctors right now. So he's going back and forth between Earth and working his ass off in the hospital, so you don't see him too much. Don't know how many endings there are exactly right now. And are we even including like the dead ends or like death scenes? I don't think so. Like official endings. First story has 2. Second story has 2. Third story has 7, so that's what we got so far. No, Reformed Predator has 3. It's got 3 endings. Oh yes, the little cute yip sounds. Just very cute puppy yips. I think I thought of 2. My explanations for language and translation, like how do Cybertronians know English, do they all know English, and eye color. So I made videos on both of these. Some people might not even know it's headcanon anymore, but they're not confirmed canon, such as like blue eyes being seen as good and red eyes being seen as bad. I projected that, and I said it doesn't make sense at all. Those are my headcanons, and I treat them as mercy canon. I did not consider use AI, because no, AI is bad, I'm not gonna do that. And besides, I don't think AI could ever capture the complete creativity it takes to make Mercy, to like take all these things from the different franchises and like reference them and pay attention to the lore and not make the line continuity more messed up than it already is. Yep, we get robot plants, robot animals, and different species of Cybertronian people. Planets, you get to go to quite a few in Space Adventure, some briefly, some for a longer stay, but brief visit to the Earth Vehicons, Velocitron, Junkion, Antilla, Arduria, Omnitron, CHC, I don't know how to say that one. It's hard to spell too. Thrall, Elba, and then you hear about Gigantian, but you don't actually get to go there. And Char. So there's a few planets. Sentinel Prime died in the novels, and I think even the video games, so he's gone. I have to respect the lore. Yes, there's ways to help besides donations. You can promote the story, talk about it online, share it around. You could also volunteer in different ways. You could be a volunteer artist creating scenes for the game. You could also volunteer your voice to like voice the emotions of characters. You don't have to read anything, you just have to be able to like shout into a microphone like ah like different sounds. Will we see knockout times breakdown? Breakdown's dead! He has a human corpse rotting inside him! They're playing the survival game in part 5, where like every choice is super stressful and you don't know what to do. Do not tell the truth to Overlord, because he asks about your like loyalty to Megatron. Do not tell him that you don't like Megatron because he's gonna kill you. I mean, if you legit don't know what to do, just test it out. You're gonna die in one chapter. Okay. Archive of Our Own is the fanfiction site that's got all the completed scripts that I have so far. You got 3 games up there. As for like videos and stuff, there's only part 1 on YouTube. I can put the link in at the very end if you want to get started with the game. I think there's several other questions people ask in my other Mercy videos. Why is Overlord female? And they say this just because he has lipstick. Guys can have lipstick and eyelashes. He's still a guy, he's just a very pretty guy. A lot of people find that attractive, that's why it was done. But the game itself, like, breaks all the gender norms. You have characters who are she characters, but look like typically male, and you have like he characters who will have like boob plates and stuff. They're just robots that can look any way you want them to look. And if you can understand that, you can kind of see how it applies to people. Okay, I'll answer the one about if there's any female Predacons. Ripclaw, who you always get, is a female Predacon. She uses she/her pronouns. And then there'll also be other Predacons. All the ones that had toys, they're all he characters. I'm going to make a few of them she characters. And I'll have some new Predacons, like Scourge from Transformers Cybertron, that three-headed dragon. I want that to be a Predacon. She's already got design underway, and yes, that will be a she/her character too. I think they're a little confused. I don't think there is any Predacon called Storm Shadows. This Storm Shadow's a human, right? Right? Twin Strike, and Laserback, they were the Predacons that were in the Covenant of Primus with Predaking. I do want to have them in the story, but I don't think Twin Strike, like, is two people. Twin Strike is just like a two-headed dragon, and I think Hunger will be as well. Not the people, but funnily enough, remember when I said, like, you can pay $5 to have your OCs in there? Ultra Primal's character is going to be in there. And another YouTuber, his name was Transtheories, it's now like Theoremus. I'm so sorry, I don't know how to say this one. But they both paid to have, like, their avatar robots in the background of the game. I just haven't gotten them drawn in, because both of them do not want their characters to be killed. So I have to put them in a scene that's not like a battle, just like a nice, peaceful, crowded place. I just haven't gotten anybody to draw that yet. I sure have seen Thundertron, made videos about him too. He's got concept art and already 1 or 2 scenes in the game. Oh, I love this question. Oh yes. Mercy is like a huge theme in all of the stories. I mean, every story starts off with the choice of, do you give Mercy the Starscream? That sets off, like, if you're a good or bad person. And then every story has the choice of, like, do you kill your main villain in that game? Like, you have the choice to kill Overlord, to be, like, hostile and try to kill Sunder, and even, like, the different GJD characters, you can decide kind of like who to kill and how many of them to kill, and then you have to deal with the consequences of that. And typically, I want you to show Mercy the characters, because you learn so much more about them. If you just like chill for a second, you can hear some really interesting backstories, and maybe they're not the monsters you think they are. There is one really terrible ending right now. I don't know if it's going to be topped yet. It's one of the 7 endings to Discovery. Is you wake up after having been like knocked out by Tarn, and you look beside you, and all 3 of your Predacon brethren are dead. And you are trapped deep underground. Nobody knows where they are. Like where you are, and they can't get to you, so you are alone with your dead friends and you can't get out, so you just lie down and die beside your friends because you have no other reason to live now. That is the worst ending of the game. It's at that point where you're like, wait, go back, I don't want this ending. You can actually kill Darksteel and Skylynx in the way that Robots in Disguise did, just not every time. Only in like one storyline you do that. is like you chase Starscream into Darkmount, and he activates that laser trap, and the lasers hit Skylynx and Darksteel. Sometimes they hit you and you die, but if they don't hit you, then you get a hold of Starscream, and you will get like serious revenge on him because of what he did to Darksteel and Skylynx. Most of the time I just have Darksteel and Skylynx alive, and they develop into really nice characters. I do like cheese, but there's no cheese in Mercy. Actually, I think there is an opportunity for cheese to be in the game. I think there just might be cheese. You'll have to read the story to find out. All the stories, it's hidden in there, the cheese Easter egg.